My name is Alex Chen, and I need to tell you about the night that started with flashing blue lights and ended with my entire life changing direction. It was a Friday in late September around 11 p.m. I was driving home from a client meeting in downtown Portland, exhausted and ready to crash. The highway was nearly empty, just me, the darkness, and the occasional passing car. Then I saw them, police lights ahead, officers directing traffic into a single lane, a DUI checkpoint. I groaned but wasn't worried. I hadn't been drinking, my registration was current, and I'd done nothing wrong, just a minor inconvenience on my way home. I pulled up to the checkpoint, rolled down my window, and waited. The officer who approached was not what I expected. He was young, maybe late 20s, early 30s, tall with dark hair visible under his cap, sharp features softened by kind eyes. His uniform was crisp, his badge gleamed under the checkpoint lights, and when he leaned down to look in my window, I caught myself thinking, he's really attractive. Which was a completely inappropriate thought to have about a police officer at a checkpoint, but there it was. "Good evening, sir," he said, his voice professional but not unkind. "License and registration, please." Of course, I fumbled for my wallet, hyper-aware of his eyes on me, of his proximity to my car window. I handed over my documents. He studied them with a flashlight, his brow furrowing slightly. "Alexander Chen, this address current?" "Yes, officer." "Have you been drinking tonight?" "No, sir, just coming from a work meeting." He nodded, still examining my license. Then his eyes flicked to something in my car, the rainbow flag sticker on my laptop bag, sitting visible on the passenger seat. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture, tension maybe, or recognition. "Step out of the car, please," he said. My stomach dropped. Is something wrong? "Just step out of the car, Mr. Chen." This was it. This was the moment I'd heard about, read about, feared. The moment where being visibly queer got you randomly selected for additional screening, for harassment, for... "Follow me, please." He gestured toward a spot away from the other officers, away from the bright lights of the checkpoint. My hands were shaking as I followed him, my mind racing through worst-case scenarios. Was he going to search my car? Question me? I'd done nothing wrong, but that didn't always matter. We stopped in a darker area, partially hidden from view. He turned to face me, and in the dim light I could see his expression more clearly. He looked nervous, conflicted. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, glancing back at the checkpoint to make sure no one was watching. "And I need you to stay calm and not react, okay?" "What's going on?" "That rainbow flag on your bag, are you..." He stopped, struggling with the words. "Are you part of the community?" Warning bells went off in my head. This felt like a trap. Why are you asking me that? Please just answer, are you gay? Every instinct told me to lie, to protect myself, to not give this officer any ammunition. But something in his expression, the vulnerability beneath the professional mask, made me answer honestly. "Yes, I'm gay. Is that going to be a problem?" He closed his eyes briefly, as if steeling himself for something. Then he looked at me directly, and what he said next was the last thing I expected. "I am too." I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. "You're what?" "Gay, I'm gay." He said it so quietly I almost didn't catch it. "And I'm not supposed to tell anyone, my department, my family, no one knows, but I saw your flag and I needed to tell someone, anyone, and you were there and..." He stopped, realizing how insane he sounded. "I'm sorry, this is completely inappropriate, you should go, I'll just..." "Wait." I held up a hand, my mind still processing. This cop, this attractive, professional, totally inappropriate to be thinking about cop, had just come out to me at a DUI checkpoint. "Are you okay?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, I'm really not okay. I'm 30 years old, I've been a cop for 8 years, and I've been lying to everyone I know for my entire adult life. So no, I'm not okay." "Why are you telling me this?" "I don't know, because you had that flag and I thought maybe you'd understand, maybe you'd know what it's like to hide who you are." He ran a hand over his face. "This was stupid. I'm going to give you a warning for a broken taillight." "My taillight isn't broken." "I know, but it gives me a reason to have pulled you aside. Take the warning, go home, and forget this conversation happened." "What's your name?" I asked. He hesitated, then said, "Officer Martinez." "Your first name?" "Why?" Because I want to know the name of the person who just trusted me with something this important. He studied me for a long moment, clearly warring with himself. Finally, David, my name is David. David, I tested the name, liked the way it felt. I'm Alex, and for what it's worth, I do understand what it's like to hide. I was closeted until college, it nearly destroyed me. How did you finally come out? I got tired of lying, realized that living authentically was more important than making everyone comfortable. I paused. Are you in danger if people find out? I don't know, my department says they're pro-LGBTQ+, but there's a difference between policy and practice. Some of the guys I work with make comments, jokes. I don't know how they'd react if they knew one of their own was gay. And your family? His jaw tightened. Catholic, conservative, it wouldn't go well. We stood there in the darkness, two strangers connected by a shared identity and an absurd situation. Behind us, I could hear the checkpoint continuing, cars being waved through, other officers going about their business, oblivious to this moment happening in the shadows. I should let you go, David said finally. This is already so far beyond appropriate. Can I give you my number? He blinked. What? My number, in case you need someone to talk to, someone who gets it. I pulled out my phone. No pressure, but if you ever need to talk to someone who understands. He looked at my phone like it was a bomb. I can't, this is. It's just a phone number, David. You don't have to use it, but if you want to, it's there. After a long moment, he pulled out his own phone and handed it to me. I entered my number and handed it back. Alex Chen, he read from the screen, the guy I met at a checkpoint. The cop who came out to a complete stranger in the middle of his shift. A real smile crossed his face for the first time. When you put it that way, we're both insane. Maybe, but sometimes insane is what we need. I stepped back toward my car. I should go before someone notices we've been talking too long. Yeah, you should. But he didn't move, just watched me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I got in my car and he came back to the window to hand me a fake written warning for a taillight that wasn't broken. Our fingers brushed during the exchange and I felt electricity shoot up my arm. Drive safely, Mr. Chen, he said, back to professional mode. You too, Officer Martinez. As I drove away, I watched him in my rearview mirror, standing there under the checkpoint lights, looking lost and lonely and somehow hopeful all at once. I didn't expect to hear from him. It had been such a strange, surreal moment, probably just a desperate confession from someone who needed to tell the truth, even to a stranger. He'd probably wake up tomorrow mortified and delete my number. But 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is David from the checkpoint. Is your offer to talk still open? We met for coffee at a place across town, far from David's precinct and the neighborhoods where he might run into colleagues. He was in civilian clothes, jeans, a button-down shirt, a baseball cap pulled low, and somehow looked both more and less like himself without the uniform. Thanks for meeting me, he said as we sat down with our drinks. I wasn't sure you'd actually want to. Why wouldn't I? Because it's weird, because I'm a cop who had an emotional breakdown at a checkpoint and dumped my life story on a random driver. You didn't dump your life story, you said 4 sentences, I smiled, though I'd love to hear the actual life story if you want to share. So he did. We sat in that coffee shop for 3 hours and David told me everything. He'd grown up in a conservative Catholic family in Eastern Oregon. Knew he was different from a young age but didn't have the language or framework to understand it. Dated girls in high school because that's what was expected. Joined the police force because his dad had been a cop, his grandfather had been a cop, and it was family tradition. He'd finally admitted to himself he was gay around age 25, but by then he was deep in his career, surrounded by people who made homophobic jokes, working in a culture that valued machismo and traditional masculinity. Coming out felt impossible. So I just haven't, he said. I date women occasionally enough to maintain the appearance. I go to family dinners and listen to my dad talk about finding me a good Catholic girl. I hear the guys at work make jokes about F***GS and I laugh along like it doesn't feel like they're stabbing me. And I go home to an empty apartment and hate myself a little more each day. David, that's not sustainable. I know, why do you think I broke down and told a stranger at a checkpoint? I'm reaching my breaking point. He stared into his coffee. That night when I saw your flag, something in me just snapped. I couldn't keep it in anymore. I had to tell someone and you were there and you seemed safe. I'm glad you told me, even if it was under bizarre circumstances. The most bizarre circumstances, he agreed with a small smile. This is definitely not how I imagined coming out to anyone. We talked about everything, his fears about coming out, my experiences being openly gay, the challenges of being queer in a conservative field. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other for years instead of days. Can I ask you something? David said as the coffee shop started closing around us. Of course. Are you single? My heart skipped. Yes, why? Because I've been sitting here for 3 hours thinking about how easy this feels, how much I enjoy talking to you, and I know this is complicated. I'm closeted, I'm a mess, I'm still figuring out how to be gay, but I'd like to see you again, if you're interested. I should have said no, should have recognized all the red flags, closeted in a conservative profession, not ready to come out. This had heartbreak written all over it. But when I looked at David, at the hope and fear warring in his expression, at the bravery it took for him to even ask, I couldn't walk away. I'm interested, I said, but David, we need to be clear about expectations. I'm not going back in the closet for anyone. I'm openly gay and I'm not hiding that. I'm not asking you to hide, I'm just asking for patience while I figure things out. How long have you been figuring things out? 5 years, he admitted. Which I know is a long time, but meeting you, Alex, that night at the checkpoint was the first time I've felt hopeful in years, like maybe I could actually do this. Come out, live authentically, be myself. I can't be your only reason to come out, that's too much pressure and it's not fair to either of us. You're not my only reason, you're the catalyst, the thing that made me realize I can't keep living like this. He reached across the table and took my hand. I want to try with you, if you'll let me. We started dating in secret. It wasn't ideal, but it was what David could handle. We'd meet at my apartment or at restaurants far from his usual haunts. We'd go hiking on trails where he was unlikely to see anyone he knew. We'd have movie nights at my place, careful to close the curtains so no one could see in. It was like having a relationship in hiding, and it chafed against everything I'd fought for when I came out. But David was worth it. When we were alone together, he was funny, tender, passionate. He was smart and thoughtful with a dry sense of humor that caught me off guard. He was also incredibly sweet, bringing me coffee, remembering small details, texting me throughout the day to check in. I've never felt like this before, he told me 2 months in as we lay tangled together in my bed. With women, it always felt like I was performing, playing a role, but with you, I can just be. How does it feel? Terrifying, amazing, right, he kissed me softly, like coming home. But the secrecy was taking its toll. I couldn't post about him on social media, couldn't introduce him to my friends as my boyfriend, couldn't hold his hand in public or kiss him goodbye where anyone might see. This is getting harder, I admitted after 4 months. We just had to duck into separate cars when David saw a coworker at the grocery store and I was tired of feeling like a dirty secret. I know, I'm sorry, he looked miserable. I'm trying, Alex, I swear I'm trying. I've been researching therapists who specialize in LGBTQ+ issues. I'm working up the courage to come out to my sister first, she's always been the most accepting. But when will you actually do it? I don't know, soon. Soon isn't a timeline, David, I need more than soon. What do you want me to say? That I'll come out tomorrow? I can't promise that. Alex, I'm terrified. My entire life could implode, my job. My family, everything. You're asking me to blow it all up. I'm asking you to be honest about who you are. Easy for you to say, you came out in college, surrounded by accepting people. I'm 30 years old, working in law enforcement with a conservative family. It's different. I know it's different, but I also know I can't keep being your secret. It's eating me alive. We fought more after that, about the secrecy, about the timeline, about what I was asking him to sacrifice. Each fight ended with apologies and promises to do better, but nothing actually changed. The breaking point came at 6 months. I'd been invited to a friend's wedding. The invitation included a +1 and I wanted David there with me, wanted to introduce him to my friends, to dance with him, to celebrate love openly. I can't, David said when I asked. Alex, you know I can't. What if someone recognizes me? It's 2 hours away, none of your coworkers will be there. But what if we run into someone? What if there are photos and they end up online? So we'll be careful, we won't take photos together, we'll. No, I'm sorry, but no, it's too risky. Everything is too risky for you, I exploded. Going to dinner is too risky, holding hands is too risky, existing as a couple outside these four walls is too risky. When does it stop being risky, David? When do you actually start living your life? When I'm ready. You've been getting ready for 6 months, for 5 years before that. When will you be ready? When I'm gray and old, when you've wasted your entire life hiding. I'm not wasting my life. Yes, you are. You're wasting your life and you're wasting mine by asking me to hide with you. I was crying now, frustrated and hurt and exhausted. I love you, David. I'm in love with you, but I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being invisible. What are you saying? I'm saying I need you to make a choice. Either you start actually working toward coming out, getting a therapist, setting a timeline, taking real steps, or we need to end this. Because I can't live in limbo anymore. That's not fair, you're giving me an ultimatum. I'm giving you reality, this isn't sustainable and we both know it. He left that night and we didn't speak for 3 days. I spent those days crying, questioning, wondering if I'd made a mistake. Maybe I should have been more patient, maybe I should have given him more time. But I also knew I'd been right. I couldn't keep sacrificing my own authenticity for his comfort. I'd fought too hard to be openly gay to go back into hiding. On day 4, David showed up at my apartment. I made an appointment, he said before I could speak, with a therapist who specializes in LGBTQ+ issues. My first session is next week. I pulled him inside. Really? Really? And I'm going to tell my sister this weekend, then my brother, then my parents probably, if that goes okay? He took my hands. Alex, you were right. I've been stalling, making excuses, letting fear control my life, but I don't want to lose you and I don't want to waste any more time hiding. What changed? These past 3 days without you, I realized that losing you is scarier than anything my family or job could do to me. You're worth the risk, Alex, you're worth everything. David's journey to coming out took 3 months of therapy, countless difficult conversations, and more courage than I think he knew he had. His sister was first. She cried, hugged him, and said she'd suspected for years. She wanted to meet me immediately. His brother took it harder but came around after a few weeks. I just want you to be happy, he said eventually. His parents were the hardest. His father didn't speak to him for a month. His mother cried and said she needed time. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't complete rejection either. It was complicated, messy, painful, but it was honest. The hardest conversation was at work. David didn't make a big announcement, didn't come out to the whole department at once. He just started mentioning me, his boyfriend, in casual conversations, bringing me up when colleagues talked about their weekends, not hiding anymore. Some people were supportive, others weren't. He faced comments, jokes, even some hostility. But he also found allies he didn't know he had, officers who pulled him aside to offer support, to share their own stories or the stories of their family members. It's not perfect, he told me after a particularly rough day where someone had made an offensive joke, but it's honest, and that feels better than hiding. Through it all, I was there, supporting him, celebrating his victories, holding him through the difficult moments. Our relationship shifted from secret to public, from hidden to visible. The first time David held my hand in public, just walking down a street in Portland on a Saturday afternoon, he stopped suddenly and looked at our intertwined fingers like they were miraculous. I've wanted to do this for 6 months, he said. How does it feel? Terrifying, amazing, free. He looked at me. Thank you. For what? For pushing me, for not letting me hide, for loving me enough to give me an ultimatum. I love you enough to want you to be happy. Really, fully happy, not hiding in the shadows, happy. I'm getting there, it's a process, but I'm getting there. 1 year later. 1 year after that night at the checkpoint, David and I were still together, still navigating challenges, still growing, but together. David had become active in LGBTQ+ advocacy, working with organizations that supported queer youth. He'd started a support group for LGBTQ+ officers in his department. He'd even reconciled somewhat with his parents who were trying in their own imperfect way. "I want you to meet them," he said one evening, "my parents officially as my boyfriend." "Are you sure?" "Yes, they're never going to fully understand, but they're trying, and I want them to know the person who changed my life." The dinner was awkward but survivable. His parents were polite if not warm, asked careful questions, avoided certain topics. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. "That went better than I expected," I said on the drive home. "My dad called you my friend 6 times. Baby steps." "I hate baby steps, I want giant leaps." "Giant leaps are how you fall, baby steps are how you get where you're going." I squeezed his hand. "I'm proud of you, David, for how far you've come. I couldn't have done it without you." "You absolutely could have, I just happened to be there when you were ready." 2 years after that checkpoint stop, David took me back to the exact spot where we first met. It was late at night, the highway quiet. He'd arranged for that stretch of road to be temporarily closed for maintenance, the perks of being a cop. "Why are we here?" I asked as he pulled over near where the checkpoint had been. "Because this is where it all started, where I saw your rainbow flag and made a crazy decision to tell a stranger the truth." He turned off the engine and turned to face me. "Alex, that night changed my life. You changed my life. You gave me the courage to be honest, to stop hiding, to actually live." "David." "Let me finish." He got out of the car and gestured for me to follow. We stood on the side of the highway under the stars, no checkpoint lights this time, just us. 2 years ago, I was miserable, closeted, lonely, hating myself a little more each day. And then you drove up to my checkpoint with a rainbow flag on your bag, and something in me broke open. I took a chance and told you the truth, and you didn't judge me, didn't think I was crazy. You just gave me your number and told me you understood." He dropped to one knee and my heart stopped. "Alex Chen, you've been patient with me through therapy, through coming out, through all the messy, complicated parts of figuring out how to live authentically. You've loved me at my worst and celebrated me at my best. You've pushed me to be braver, to be honest, to be myself, and I want to spend the rest of my life being myself with you. Will you marry me?" I was crying, laughing, nodding before he'd even finished. "Yes, God, yes." He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me right there on the side of the highway where we'd first met, where he'd first been brave enough to tell the truth, where everything had changed. "I love you," he said. "I love you too, even if you did pull me over for a broken taillight that wasn't actually broken." That taillight was totally broken. I was very thorough in my inspection. We drove home engaged, talking excitedly about plans and timelines and who we'd invite. The conversation was easy, natural, full of joy. That checkpoint stop had been the most unexpected thing that ever happened to me. Getting pulled over, having a cop come out to me, starting a relationship in secret, none of it should have worked, but somehow it did. 3 years later, we got married on the anniversary of that checkpoint stop. Held the ceremony right on that spot with permission from the city and a lot of confused highway drivers. David's parents came, mine did too. His fellow officers formed an honor guard. My friends cried through the whole ceremony. 3 years ago, I stopped you at a checkpoint," David said in his vows. "And you stopped me from spending the rest of my life hiding. You gave me courage, gave me hope, gave me a reason to be brave. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Alex. My checkpoint, my turning point, my home." 3 years ago, I thought getting pulled over was the worst part of my night," I said in mine. "Turns out it was the best. You're the most unexpected, most wonderful surprise of my life, my accidental soulmate, the cop who changed everything." After the ceremony, as we drove away, just married, blissfully happy, I thought about that night, how random it had been, how unlikely. What were the chances that I'd drive through that checkpoint at that exact moment, that David would be the one to stop me, that he'd see my rainbow flag and make the split-second decision to trust me with his truth? "What are you thinking about?" David asked, noticing my contemplative look. "Just how lucky we are, how easily we could have missed each other." "We didn't miss each other, the universe knew we needed to meet." He kissed my hand. "Best checkpoint stop of my life. Only checkpoint stop of your life where you came out to a driver. And then married him, can't forget that part." We drove into our future together, unexpected, unlikely, absolutely perfect. Because sometimes the most life-changing moments happen in the most ordinary places. Sometimes all it takes is a checkpoint stop, a rainbow flag, and the courage to tell the truth. The end. This story is about unexpected connections, the courage to be authentic, and finding love in the most unlikely places. Whether you're still in the closet or living openly, remember, your truth is worth telling, and the right person will love you for exactly who you are.